Welcome back to A Year in a Day, your journey through the seasons. Today we're going to be talking about midsummer. So midsummer is also known as the Summer Solstice or Litha, and it's celebrated around June 22nd. It's the longest day of the year. After this day, the sun's arc across the sky will begin to wane and grow shorter and shorter until 6 months later when we're back at the winter solstice again. What's interesting about the term midsummer is that for many of us, late June really doesn't feel like the middle of summer. It feels more like the beginning of summer and the end of spring. So in order to make sense out of this, we need to try looking at the year as having 2 long seasons rather than 4 short ones. In some ancient traditions, the year was divided into 2 halves, summer and winter. Assuming that summer starts at the spring equinox and ends at the autumn equinox, midsummer is smack dab in the middle. While the sun is at its height, the effects of its cumulative rays will continue to affect us, and for many of us, the hottest days are still yet to come. But the idea is that regardless of what the weather is doing, astrologically speaking, midsummer marks the middle of the brighter half of the year when the days are longer than the nights. Because the sun will switch over from waxing to waning at this time, midsummer is considered in many cultures to be a very magical time. Why? Well, I like to think of it in terms of the magic of the moment. Many of us are familiar with the work of Eckhart Tolle, who tells us that being fully present in the current moment, rather than allowing our minds to pull us into patterns of thinking about the future or the past, it's the only way to achieve inner peace. To take that a step further, many magical practitioners will also agree that the most magically potent times are those times when we're so deeply attuned to the present moment that time almost seems to stand still or not to exist, dimming in comparison to the heart-centered part of the experience. It's a feeling of being in touch with the inner child, the realm of imagination, and free creative expression. The magic of the moment can be carefully evoked through ritual, or it can occur anytime spontaneously, but it seems many would agree that the inner child, or the fairies, or the muses, or whatever you want to call it, it most often comes to us in what we call tween times. Tween times are natural occurrences in which consciousness is shifting to transition from one chapter to another. For me, this is most evident when the sun begins to set. Something about the way the lights and shadows play off of each other in a dramatic angle causes me to pause and notice the beauty, to consciously bid farewell to the last hours of sunlight and to begin to welcome the nighttime. I find that late spring and late autumn are my favorite times of the year because, in much the same way as the sunset, the year is shifting to a new season in a very visually evident kind of way. In my environment, spring and autumn are fairly short and mild seasons, a brief moment to acknowledge the transition from the harsher temperatures of the summer and winter. If we don't pause and simply breathe and enjoy them, these very special seasonal shifts will pass us by. When I first began studying the Wheel of the Year, I recall reading a lot about midsummer being a time to communicate with fairies. So as lovely as that idea sounds, for a lot of us it seems a bit far-fetched. I mean, it's kind of hard to really relate to fully for some of us. I don't tend to believe in fairies in the traditional sense, but I can certainly meditate on a string of experiences throughout my life that had fairy-like feelings involved. So, to me, fairy energy is the magic that comes over us when we surrender our adult worries and cares and just allow ourselves to be so inspired in the present moment that we fully relax into the experience. When that inner child is really able to play within us, that's when all the best fairy magic happens. For me, the inner child really plays well outside in nature, and in order for that to really happen correctly, it needs to be warm and comfortable. My body needs to be in a comfortable state as well as my heart and my mind. So, with the weather finally feeling truly pleasant, neither too hot nor too cold, midsummer is my favorite time of year to let that inner child run free into the open arms of the season. This is a time for us to ask ourselves, which are our favorite childhood memories of summertime? For me, it returns to a time when my sister and I used to sit out in the yard and have tea parties with cat and rabbit stuffed animals. Even though my sister lives far away from me now, and the stuffed animals have all been given away, I can still evoke that timeless energy by perhaps letting my inner child design the scenes for my product photo shoots, for example. Take some time this season to sit outside and dream back to your childhood. Take note of which feelings return you to that same place every summer and which ones have kind of just faded into memory. How can you evoke and channel the energy of your inner child to help evolve you through your life in the present day? So, whether you'll be celebrating Litha with the popular pagan traditions, or if you're more like me and you'll simply be spending lots of times outdoors honoring the elements, enjoy the summer solstice season with those who you care about. If this season could have a quote, in my words, it would be enjoy the weather together. And if you get the chance, please do share this video in your circles, because I'll bet a lot of your friends are really busy adulting and they probably need to get in touch with their inner child this season. And happy midsummer, everybody. Until next time, blessed be.